You're gonna headbang today? You ready?
Hell yeah.
It's like he's going for it.
Get those words!
Well, how about that, guys? You guys awake yet? Good morning.
Now I am.
Yes,
Woo-hoo!
sir. It is time for Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Michael Deeb over there, Warren Madsen down there. We got all the experts and me, because I don't know what I'm doing. This is, do any of us know what we're doing? Warren, no. I don't know. I feel like you're going to get dumbed down hanging out with us.
Yeah. I don't buy it at all. You guys have been doing a daily show about values of car auctions. I'm pretty sure you're the expert now. At what point does it tip over to from self-proclaimed dummy to full-on expert? You tell me.
Yeah, we're waiting for that moment. Yeah,
90 day, give a 90-day temporary.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Where you're a new employee and you can't.
Like we're on probation.
Yeah. Get a 90-day probation. So we'll see how you do. You guys are still there.
All right. Yeah. No,
how long has it been, by the way? You guys have been on a few months, right?
At least, yeah.
September, October last year.
Yeah,
we're daily since then.
We started on IG at first because we were having platform problems, and then I think we started on Switcher, and then we went to IG, and then we went back to Switcher. So
yeah, I mean, I think consistently we've been doing this since fall. It was sometime September, October, November-ish where we were like, all right, we're doing this every single day. We were kind of screwing around with it, trying to get it to work. And now it still doesn't work, but we're doing it every day.
You got me fooled. It's working.
Hey, Deeb, if you could turn up your microphone just a smidge. We're having... once again, we always love our audio issues, and it's our favorite part of doing the show. And clearly, again, not only do we not know what we're talking about, we don't know how to do what we're doing. Still having audio issues.
Testing 1 2. Is that better?
Oh yeah, wow, that was way better. Okay.
Golden pipes.
Microphone in my face.
Yeah.
Warren, for those Bid Nerd fans that are watching, and for some weird ass reason they don't know who you are, let's go ahead and talk about how big a deal you are. You're not a Bid Nerd. That would be beneath you. You are a founder of Rad For Sale and Radwood, Driving While Awesome, all the things. Let's hear the plugs, man. Come on.
Podcasting While Awesome. He's actually going to put Bid Nerd. He's going to put Third Nerd on his resume. Watch, I promise you, he's going to do it.
I have my finger over the bullet point right now.
You'll never work in this town again.
Exactly.
Yeah, you left out Camping While Awesome as well. Give that a follow. So everything you mentioned, I'm just a fan of yours, and just a pal. That's what it is. We're trying to make this seem just like friends talking, right?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
sorry.
No, it's true because it is a community. It is. I mean, we get asked all the time because I know Warren, you and all your guys, from Bradley and the rest of the crew, Lane and everybody and Art. You guys are just in the community. You're not just video guys. You're not just so many people get into this game because they like cameras or they like making computer stuff, right? That's not us. I don't know. You guys are more technically averse than I, or you're better at the technical stuff than I am. But I hate the technical stuff. I just want to get out there and hang out with people and talk about cars and drive cars and be in cars and do car stuff with our car friends. And it's not because of the cars; it's because of the people like you, Warren, and everyone else that we meet. It's just hanging out with buddies, man. This is what it's all about, and we really appreciate you being here and everything that you guys do in the community. You're welcome.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you, guys.
All right. Speaking of other people in the community, I got to give a shout out to David over at P Car Market. Yes, I just said P Car Market. I'm giving a shout out to you guys. David, the founder of P Car Market, reached out to me yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, and he said, "Hey, man," he DM'd me on the Instagram. He's like, "Why you guys hating? What's the deal? We give you love. Why are you hating so much?" So we're gonna get David on the show here very soon.
Really?
And we're gonna get a chance for JP to eat crow and say, "All right, Okay, because I want nothing more than those P-Car guys, P-Car Market guys, to do well. He is convinced that he is one of us, that he's part of the community.
Awesome.
And he says that he doesn't drive a Singer around. He drives an old SC. And that is, I love hearing that, man.
Yeah,
it's like,
I know,
all right.
yeah.
The perception is a little boomery over there, guys. So we're going to give you a
JP
chance
is in
to
love
sort it out.
already. Is David one of the guys on their podcast?
I don't know that.
We'll yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
Well,
the
we'll figure
David
it out
or
later.
yeah, we'll figure it out later. We'll give him a
figure it
chance.
out,
If I saw his face, but yeah, Warren, they do have a podcast. They have a YouTube show called what is it called? Inside
What Are You
the
Driving?
Market. No, they have
yeah.
two. They have two shows. Well, two different
Right.
things. So they do Inside the Market with P-Car Market guys, and then they have and that's where they basically. It's just two dudes talking about mostly car auctions.
Cars they're covering.
Yeah, and they don't exclusively talk about their own cars. They do talk about cars from other auctions. And and you know, David, if you're watching, which apparently you guys do, and we really do appreciate you guys watching because that doubles our viewership. Nobody else watches.
Triples
so,
it.
you know, two interns and the founder of
Right.
P-Car Market and 5 other guys. That's it. That's all that watches our show. So I don't know why he would be worried about us talking about his platform, given that nobody cares about us. They get way more views than we do. So yeah, it's they've got a really cool studio there in Long Island. It's attached to their dealership, and they started another thing called This Is My Car. I think is that what it's called.
Something
and
like
I'm
that.
Sorry for not getting the name right. We'll get it right on one of the other ones. But yeah, they basically get I think they had Emery on there or something. They've had some pretty big names already, and they drive some really nice cars. And as a producer, as a video guy, the production quality is pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great.
You know, so and their studio. Oh my God, their studio's toots.
Their business is in an old brick building, Warren. It's like you know, every guy's fantasy. It's awesome.
Yeah, California, we can't do brick.
Yeah, glass offices and brick buildings. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. That's the one thing when I travel on the East Coast, I'm like, how is that tall brick building still there?
I know.
There are earthquakes here. It's like, nope.
They have they've gentrified an old block in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they have like these beautiful brick window archways. And you just look at the architecture, like, oh my God, that's amazing.
How'd they do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
That's cool.
All right, fellas. Well, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some cars. We narrowed down all these automotive auction sites, including P-Car Market, but Rad For Sale, BAT, Cars and Bids. We find all the cool cars from all these different platforms. We narrow it down to the most interesting ones of the day, and we nerd out about those cars, and then we do the fun stuff, which is where we make predictions as to what we think they will actually hammer for at the end of their respective auctions each day. But we always start out the show by going over our predictions, which are usually wrong from the previous day. So let's tee up yesterday's cars, which is something that I didn't actually do, queuing up the show. We talked about some pretty interesting stuff. Speaking of P-Car Market, we started with that GT3, yeah? Or
right,
was it,
and again,
yeah.
and here we go, JP, right out of the gate, another confusing result, because listen, we talked about it like just a couple weeks ago. P-Car Market sold a 2004 996 GT3 that was white with ceramic brakes and less than 10,000 miles. I think it was 9,000 miles. They sold that car for $193,000. And I suspected that if that is a legit result, that result is going to pick up. It's going to lift the 996 GT3 market. So the very next GT3 that P-Car Market is selling, and this is like 10 days later, is also a 2004, and it has 4,000 miles on it. The only difference here is this car has steel brakes. Now, the ceramic brakes were like a $7,000 or $8,000 option in 2004. They were not even that expensive. And they were like $7,800. So I predicted that this car, even if the white one at $193,000 was an outlier, that if it lifted the market, this might be a $160,000 car with like half the miles. You went 140. So I said 159, you said 140. Our car sold for $132,000, which makes that previous result all the more strange, because this is arguably just as collectible a car. Has half the miles and steel brakes. That's it. I mean, anyway, none of this makes sense, JP. 132 is, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there have been guys trying to sell cars with less than 20,000 miles for 130 grand, 120 grand for a year on Hemmings and Auto Trader or whatnot. There are some cars that are still sitting there for sale. So this is a good result. This is a strong result, but it makes the last result look like something fishy was going on. It's just really strange. So anyways, 132,000 for arguably one of the most low mile GT3s in the country. That's a great result. Congratulations to P-Car, the seller and the buyer. A job well done, but it makes the last result seem really suspicious.
Warren, what do you think of that car?
I love those cars, man. It's like they're finally seeing a light of day. But I agree with Michael. I mean, what's the deal with that huge price discrepancy? Is white? I mean, did they make only a low number in white? They were pretty common, right?
They did. White was a low number result. I think they probably made more silver ones and more yellow ones than white ones. So white is white on almost any 996 is an unusual colorway. It really became popular with the success of the 7.1 GT3. It looked like a stormtrooper, and white Porsches became the thing. But I don't know. It's just strange. White car, cool.
I know.
10,000 miles, ceramics, cool. But $193,000? No,
Dude,
that doesn't make sense, man.
That doesn't make sense. I know that raised a lot of eyebrows. And I was with you. I thought, wow, GT3s are gone now. But that's still, I mean, that silver car is a strong result. I mean, 2 years ago, we would have been
95.
blown away, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago, we'd have been blown away if the thing broke like 60. I mean, it was like
that's low mileage.
996
though,
is okay, but still, I mean,
a $90,000 car maybe, but Jesus, yeah. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the best driving cars of all time, and I am still questioning that really, really expensive one. We've joked about the idea of using these platforms to launder money, and I am not saying that that's what happened with that other one, but. Something is weird. There doesn't a 40,000, 30. What's the discrepancy between that one and the silver one and the white one?
60 grand.
60,000. But I was thinking maybe if there were 3 or 4 people that wanted a white perfect GT3, and the market is such in a frenzy right now that you get caught up, and it took 2 people, right? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but this one should have done the same thing by that argument. And okay, so here's the question, right? Is this a platform issue where you just have really massively varying audiences from day to day, whereas BAT gets a huge audience every single day? And so would this same car have sold for that $160 were it on BAT, or was that $160 one really just a crazy anomaly because we haven't seen any other ones go for that much anywhere else, have we? I mean, that wasn't a high watermark. That was like
that's 7.2 GT3 RS money. That's what that was. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was Noah's Ark style flood mark. I mean, it just was there's watermark, and then there's way up here somewhere, and I don't.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not suggesting that there's anything nefarious, especially not with the platform, but it is possible that something weird's going on. I think it's more likely with. I'm still more suspect with that, and I keep bringing it up. That C2, that Mark 1 C2 cab in ocean blue and sand
on
beige.
BAT.
Oh, that's the craziest one.
Yeah, going for $50,000. That has fishy all over it, man. Something's weird.
Something weird.
That car smells like low tide.
Yeah, right. Somebody left some muscles in the boot. I think 130 something grand for this particular silver GT3. That makes sense. That seems like the number that makes sense.
4,000 mile 996 GT3 for over $130,000 makes sense.
It's a timeless car. That thing is super awesome.
Anything more than that makes you go.
Yeah, you get into that 150 range. It's like God, all the other cars you could have. But I mean, if you want a perfect GT3, there's not a ton to choose from.
Warren, I keep saying this every time we look at these cars, but the first time we had Paul from Auto Kennel on, he said that the 996 GT3 was his favorite non-air-cooled driving 911 of all time.
And he bought one.
He did, right after the show. I think
he probably already had it. Yeah.
He was teasing ahead.
Yeah, right. He's building value so he could flip it. No, he's I mean,
genius. That guy's so smart.
Yeah, right. Those cars are amazing, and they were undervalued. And I agree with you. The 130 sounds pretty much right on for a collector grade, silver black GT3. But the other result is wacky. But you Porsche guys are all about the options and the ceramic brakes, and you want a white one. I mean, how many are there out there? in
I don't know.
perfect
By the
condition, right?
numbers.
Yeah.
By the numbers, it is a probably rare car to have ceramics in white, but it's not $60,000.
No, it is not.
Makes sense.
Well, so just a couple, we were joking about just numbers from just a couple of years ago. Just a couple of years ago, Michael Deeb, you were still with God and Porsche of Las Vegas, our friends over there, and you guys had that GT2.
Yeah. They still have it.
No, they sold it. Yeah, they did have it for a long time because they wanted 160,000 miles, or they wanted $160,000 for it, and it had 8,000 miles, and it was like, wow, boy, you could get them for 90 all day long back then. And of course, they've sold it now because it's totally worth that with 8,000 miles.
Right.
And a GT2 996, holy smokes, that's the car,
dude. That's the car.
7,000, 8,000 miles on that car, perfect condition. We searched the car to find one little crease in the clear coat under the front driver's headlight. That car was mint, and it drove beautifully.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kept changing the price. Like we'd lower the price down to like 159, and then we'd raise the price to like 185. Nobody would even call on that car. You couldn't give it away. It was crazy.
Wow.
Now in today's market, that value is there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what else did we talk about yet? What else did we get wrong yesterday? We do that a lot.
BAT we got right because we straddled this one. Bring a Trailer had a 1961 Alfa Romeo Giulietta Sprint from our friends at Fantasy Junction in Emeryville, California, across the Bay Bridge here. Spencer found a car that belonged to one of their clients that has been like sort of resto mod, Coney shocks and dual Webers on probably a Normale that's been built up better than a Veloci. They overboard it to 1,700 cc's. By all accounts, this is a fantastic driving car, and cosmetically, it looked like it really just kind of came out of like long-term storage. It's in beautiful condition. So a ton of value here. Even if this car is not going to go to a Concours d'Elegance and win an award because it's lacking some of its original components. So I said 59,000, suggesting that this car might not break 60. JP, you took 55, and honestly, we were right on the money. This car sold yesterday for $57,777. I got the win by just a couple $100 over you, but we were right on the money, and that's just a great value. Look at, if you're buying one of these cars, you want to drive it, and this one's been done for you.
Exactly.
So you're paying less for a better driving example. I endorse this kind of money on this kind of car all day long. And with these sort of, it's not a hand-built car, it's not a coach-built car, but a 50s era, even though this one's a 61, all the design elements on this come out of the 1950s. You can't find a 50s car that is a better driving car on a back road than this. I just think that this car's got, I think the value in this is going to continue to appreciate, even if these cars sort of time out for the younger generation. I think this is good money spent. So anyway, I can't say enough nice things. Congratulations to everybody involved. Let's take a look at the 1994 Land Rover Discovery. This is a Camel Trophy car, right-hand drive, that was on Doug DeMiro's site. JP, kind of a bummer here. I said 23, you said 25. We were both way off. This car jumped all the way up to $46,000, where it failed to sell. The reserve, I'm guessing, was probably at 50 grand or higher on this 110,000 mile example. JP, you there?
Oh, I am. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. I was wondering if I lost you.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah.
Anyway, nice car. Look, lots of wear and tear on this vehicle, but all the trick components that came from the factory are on this. This is not a freeway SUV that you're going to take to the mall. This is a car that you show up at a Jeep event and blow everybody away, because this thing probably crawls with the best of them. We're talking about a 2.5 liter inline 4 turbo diesel with a 5-speed manual and right-hand drive, with all kinds of trick suspension and components and winches. This thing would literally go anywhere, and it actually competed in the actual Camel Trophy back in period, I think in 1995. So a really neat vehicle with great provenance and history and all kinds of trick pieces. But that car will hopefully show up again for sale regionally somewhere in the country, because it didn't sell at $46,000. I finally found the Westfalia we've all been looking for, a 2003 VW Eurovan Westfalia Weekender. So it doesn't have the kitchen, but it does have the pop top and the fold down bed. It's a VR6. Automatic kind of stinks. It'd be really fun to have one of these that was, say, synchro all-wheel drive with a manual, but I don't know that they made that, or at least they certainly didn't bring those stateside. This one was black on gray with 72,000 original miles and just 2 owners. As far as Eurovans go, this one's barely broken in. It doesn't have enough scratches on it to be collectible. Anyway, really cool car. And JP, we were really right on the money. I said 45, you said 48. The car sold for $50,500 yesterday on BAT. And that's right there. That's right where we said if it goes over 50, it's crazy. Well, it hit 50. And when you sit back and look at that, everything that's on that car and how low mile it is, that result almost makes sense just based on the market for those types of vehicles.
Hey, I just want to mention on this thing, even though they listed it as a Westphalia and it says Westphalia on the top, it only has a Westphalia top. This is not a Westphalia van, to be clear.
Yes,
this is a weekender because a Westphalia would have all the kitchen junk in it. And that's, I think, why we really like this car, because it wasn't kind of weighted down and with all that stupid stuff. Warren, have you ever camped in one of these? Sorry.
Spent a lot of time in them. I'm a Vanagon owner, so I don't really talk about Eurovans if I can avoid it. I have a friend who's very passionate about them, and even a beat example of this. There's one in my neighborhood for sale. Beat. I'm talking like scratches, dents, needs everything. High mileage is $18,000. So a perfect one. Yeah. I get it, but also keep in mind like those transmissions fail pretty low mileage, and it's an $8,000 job for transmission. So like I just don't buy into the Eurovan as a collector car, but one that's dialed like you were talking about, Deeb, with full manual transmission, which they offered in the early Eurovans.
With the 2.5, right? The 5
exactly. Yeah. So you could get that back in the day, but they drive pretty heavy. They're a heavy driving tank of a car. So
this motor's a gem. It's a shame the gearbox can't match it, which is
exactly.
But every Volkswagen has an Achilles, right? It's not torque steer, it's a bad gearbox, or it's overheating, or whatever. Right. But that's why we love them. I mean, VWs, you have to be dyed-in-the-wool gearhead if you're in love with a VW. And this one, my wife wants a real air-cooled Vanagon, and this might be the compromise. So
I mean, they look cool for sure. I love the styling. They've definitely grown on me. So.
Very cool. All right, and then our last car was on your site, guys. Rad For Sale had a 1999 Mazda Miata 10th anniversary edition with a lot of cool extras to make the car more of a track-worthy car. They had a full roll bar, they had an intake system and some exhaust, and then these cars come with like a limited slip differential and Bilstein shocks and a few things. Really nice car, poor presentation. Warren, if you watched yesterday's show, I lost my proverbial shit. JP normally is the one that like goes like littlest things drive him nuts, and I told him yesterday, I said I think I put up with a little more than you do when it comes to bringing these things to market, because look, if I didn't have JP as a friend and business partner, I don't know that I could do as fantastic a job as he does. Like this is his wheelhouse. And when real amateurs do amateur jobs, it really drives him nuts, and I get that. But I also know what my limitations are as just a layperson who doesn't know how to use a lens. But this car with a crooked license plate, I was like, my OCD was like, hell no. I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? You guys don't get a car up every day. So when a car finally drops and it doesn't drop well, I am like dying on the inside for you. I'm like, who is the one that's going to step forward in that group of guys to be like, send it back to the consignor, tell him to take his pictures again. Like somebody's got to do that. You know what I mean?
So guess what?
It's your
I had the same exact thought as you did when we discussed it internally, until I found out that the kids these days in that community, the cool move is, and in Japan as well, is a crooked license plate.
No way.
So welcome to boomer life.
Yes.
You have now
Busted.
reached peak boomer.
Busted.
And this is now what the kids are wearing, tie-dye again, and that is a desirable look, and was
so awesome.
Done on purpose to add value to the car.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I had the exact same thing.
JP, do you feel as old as I do right now? That is the most. Remember, all right, how's this from the 80s? If you guys remember this, I feel moated. Like, I feel totally motivated.
Totally. I am totally with you. By the way, there's no chance in hell we would allow that on the site. But it is a weird thing, like the guys with the Chargers and their yellow bananas on the bumper.
Yep.
And you're going, what are you doing with the delivery wrapper on your car? And they go, no, this is cool, man.
That. Yeah.
So
is stained seats or stained seats and floor mats? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Chrome wheels, is that a thing? I feel like I need to check everything. Is the Honda minivan in the background of the shot? Is that a thing?
Let me tell you, this, number one issue with submissions, and we deny a lot of them, is photos. It is the hardest thing to get through to people. You can send them sheets with types of photos to get the actual, examples of photos of even of their type of car, and it will not happen. You'll get fingers and smudged lenses. You'll get people don't even vacuum out their car. I'm like, this is your car. You're trying to get money for it, right? Like, and also the other thing that we struggle with is people's perception of an excellent condition car in Pittsburgh is quite different than someone in Los Angeles or vice versa, right? So we feel you, or I know everything that you think we have already thought of, and struggle with. So
Warren,
stick with us.
This conversation this morning is the worst one I've ever had on the show. I just want to crawl back into bed. I feel old as fuck. God damn.
I'll give you the floor mats. I'll give you the floor mats, the dirty floor mats. Absolutely.
I married a girl that's younger than a millennial, and I still feel ancient as fuck. Like, this is just the worst. All right.
Yeah, dude.
Well, anyways,
does she want to host the show?
She should host the show. I said 6,000. My partner went over at 6,500. The car failed to sell yesterday at $4,601. Does the car remain available on your site? Can people still call and try to make a deal for a couple weeks?
Yeah,
because I know your old listings stay relevant for some time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, we had an underbidder that reached out and he missed the auction, but he was still interested in it. So, the bid goes on, or whatever you want to call it. But, I think great photos would have added 30% to the car, right? And we try to tell that to sellers every day. And if anyone's listening that's thinking of submitting a car, you can submit a car and we'll review it for sure, but invest in good photos. If you know someone, or if you, need to hire someone, $200 will bring you $2,000, hopefully.
So JP says that every week, and we can't say it enough. So thank you, Warren, for endorsing that without being solicited to do so. We obviously believe very strongly in that, to the point where we were criticizing you guys yesterday.
I hear you.
I love that I'm eating crow this morning. That's awesome. I learned something.
Deeb, I will say in your defense, I mean, obviously I agreed with you yesterday too, but so I didn't know either. But I will say that as a seller, if you have some kind of option that you think is making your car worth more, it may be to a very, very narrow audience, but there are boomers out there, or guys that aren't even boomers, guys our age. We're Gen Xers, and it sounds like Warren, your gen, didn't even quite catch it either. That's a hipster thing.
I was with you guys.
It's like okay, if you have some kind of fad that you think is cool, is that going to help selling your car, or is it going to hinder it? You're narrowing your audience if you're playing to some super ultra hipster. So straighten out your darn license plate, even though it's a cool thing.
License plate, and then also have a realistic reserve. If you decided to modify your car in a way that's just for your tastes, you have now shrunk your market for buyers, right? So you need to be realistic. I know, because we have these cars come that are like, different paint and interior and stuff, and it's all like very modern. Well, not everyone's looking for that. So, I mean, in my experience, it's typically the completely stock OEM cars or OEM plus that are going to bring the most money. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, well, it's got fresh paint. You're like, well, I kind of would have rather had the patina old paint, or what have you. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's so funny, Warren. I know you don't want to hear this, but you sound like a Porsche guy when you talk like that.
Paint to sample, Porsche. Yeah.
Hilarious. All right, guys. Well, okay, so that was a great discussion about yesterday's cars. What we do every day is we pick the most interesting cars of the day, so you don't have to. And we make predictions and prove that we're wrong first thing on the show. So now it's time for today's cars. We picked some really cool ones today. I think we've got some cars that are right in the Rad For Sale wheelhouse.
Literally picked one car just thinking I wanted to present it to you, JP, and say, wouldn't this car have made twice as much money on on Rad For Sale, and I literally picked a car that isn't even that interesting, but for that it's rad.
I think.
Well,
I know
we will.
Yeah,
We will get to those cars in just a second. First, we want to encourage you to subscribe, like, hit the notification button, and make sure you go to the respective Deeb over there. Deeb the Boomer wants to say, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash that notification button.
Deeb the Boomer.
Deeb the Boomer.
We're super excited about some stuff right now. We have as Warren dubs them, tennis balls. These are not meatballs for your car. They are tennis balls. Bid Nerd stickers are in, and we will soon tell you how to get one. You're going to have to DM us if you want to know how to get one, because we don't know how to get you one just yet, but we're going to give a bunch of them away probably at Radwood coming up on the 10th of July. We'll be there live casting. Yep.
They're available exclusively on our Patreon.
That's right, which has nothing on it. I also want to take a second to talk about our sponsor. Of course, we've got our awesome bracelets from GYX Customs. These things are super, super cool. If you guys haven't seen these yet, check this out. They are bespoke bracelets. Sorry here, trying to get the thing up here. Look at these. They have all kinds of bracelets that match your cars, match your watches. They match just about, there's one that matches any car that you can think of, and any paint to sample. If you have a color of a car, you just send the artist the color of your car, and she will make one that matches your freaking car. This one on the screen right now,
man jewelry.
Exactly. You've got, if you're into Gulf livery, or if you've got some crazy gold-colored Lambo, send her the color code, and she'll make you a couple of beads. She'll hand paint those things, and then custom make a bespoke bracelet just for you. There's only one way to get one of these. You have to go onto Instagram and go to GYX Customs and DM the artist. That's the only way to get one. They don't have a website. They don't have anything else. And it's spelled weird too, so that doesn't help. It's GYX_Customs. GYX Customs. That's how you pronounce it. GYX Customs on Instagram. Go ahead and DM the artist. She will get you set up with the most amazing bracelet or bracelets that you can imagine. You can see we're scrolling through a bunch of pictures below, and you can check some of those out. We'll put some of that stuff on Instagram. The link is there as well on our YouTube channel. So thanks for checking out GYX Customs, guys. Let's go ahead and get to the cars today. What do we got, Deeb?
Where do you want to start?
I'm a big fan of these 348, so I'm going to say let's go F car today. Boom.
BAT has a 1990 348 TB. Which is interesting because they say transverse, but the irony is that the motor turns from transverse to longitudinal. So I never understood why the transverse moniker. I think it has something to do with the gearbox, but I don't know. Whatever. It's all Italian. This car is out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and has just 34,000 original miles shown. Now, big thing with these cars, a lot to do with the value, has to do with the most race and timing belt service, because it's an engine out service and it costs a lot of money. This car hasn't had that service since 2013. So despite this car being the most desirable resale red with tan interior and having 300 horsepower and low 34,000 miles, I think the value on this car will suffer somewhat, because somebody's going to have to spend about $10,000 to get that timing belt service completed upon receipt of their car before they can go out and use it. Other than that, this is a fantastic vehicle, and 348s, like our beloved 996s JP from the same era, are starting to move up in value. Actually, these are older, but these were the unloved Ferrari for a long time, and they're starting to move in the right direction. We've seen, just since we've started doing the show, 348s really climbing in value, and this one has a really good chance to do so. So JP, our car was at $46,000 last night, but this morning when we turned on for the show, it's sitting at $51,000 with still 2 hours to go. Again, on the cheap, you could probably get those belts done for $7 or $8 grand. On the expensive, they'll cost you 12 to 15. So you're going to spend around $10,000 on the median to get that service done. But after that, you can go and enjoy this car, and these things rip. So Warren, what do you think? Would a Ferrari ever appear in your driveway?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm just blown away at how these have aged. Are these the coolest looking inexpensive Ferrari.
It's JP's favorite Ferrari, which just cracks me up. It is what we said finally the other day. We just finally spit it out. It's so true. It's the baby Testarossa.
It is the baby Testarossa, but you're saying favorite Ferrari under 100,000. Is that what you're saying, JP?
Honestly, I'm saying it is my favorite Ferrari, period. Yeah, I know there are better ones. I know there are more expensive ones. I know on just about every available metric you could say that how could this possibly be your favorite? But the fact is I'm at the age where this car came out when I was a senior in high school, and it was just the jam. I like it. It's smaller than the Testarossa. If you've ever driven a Testarossa, they don't drive that well, whereas this car is a blast.
They don't handle that well.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, yeah, they're nice. Well, they're really nice because they're a Ferrari, but go try to rip one down a twisty corner.
Twisty road will give you that.
Yeah,
but like,
it's whereas one of these, you can just, man, there's just I just have more fun in these, and they speak to me more. I love this car. The 355 is the better looking car, but I still like this one because it's so 80s. It's just
something about the overhangs too. On this is a little bit more, I don't know, a little more sleek and svelte.
Very
I love the style. Exactly.
With a long front overhang and no rear overhang. It's
right.
Like a race car.
Great greenhouse and stuff. It's a great styled car. You know, the knock on them in that period was that they were as slow as like a Toyota Camry, or similar.
The NSX was a quicker car and was easier to drive. That was
exactly, and there was the service, of course. And
the NSX humiliated this car.
Exactly,
ruined it.
And I don't know how many they built of these, so while they are coming up, they're definitely no 996 as far as numbers out there. So.
They're not 996. They're 964. Because they are the same era as the 964, and 964s were super unloved. And this car, because it was the cheap one, and it was overshadowed by so much else. And then the 355 was so much better, kind of like the 964 and the 993. The 993 just totally overshadowed the 964 at the time. This car just suffered from 80s-ness in the middle of the 90s, and the 90s were all about a different thing. I think the other thing on this car too, Deeb, it'll be interesting. We talked about that Cabrio last week, that gray one in your neck of the woods, and that car only went for what was it, 49? It didn't even break 50, right?
It didn't even break 50 grand. 60,000 mile Spider, a full Spider.
The Cabrio phobe factor is real. People are just stupid when it comes to convertibles, because this car is going to go for a lot more than that one, right? It's because it has a hardtop, and I think that is just the dumbest thing in the world, especially in a car that's not the ultimate Ferrari, because this Ferrari, and again, my favorite Ferrari, but I'll be the first person to admit it's not the best. Those are two different things, favorite and best, right? This isn't the best handling, best anything Ferrari, so why wouldn't you want the top to go down? Because who the hell cares? Are you really going to track one of these? I mean, you're just going to have, this is a back road racing around, having your best girl or your best puppy or whatever, or best boy, whatever the hell you're into, I don't care, ripping around and their hair's in the air. This is just, I'm so excited about this car. But this one hardtop, nobody's going to see it. Deeb, what do you think? How much is this going to go for?
I think it's going to bring $65,000 because of the color. It could be a $70,000 to $75,000 car if the belts were done. So it's a shame that the guy didn't sort that out. But I don't know, 65 wouldn't surprise me if this car has a strong finish. It's already at $51,000, so it only needs 14 grand to get to my perfectly accurate bid.
Hey, Deeb, before we give Warren a shot, I wanted to ask you, Deeb, because you're more of an expert on these. The Scuderia, the shields on the corners there, that just looks like a sticker to me. That's not factory, or is it?
They are.
That one
Correct.
is factory? Okay, that one's good.
Yeah, I don't think they were even offered on this car.
I was going to agree with you there.
If they were, they'd be higher up that panel. They would never.
Oh, okay, so they're not real. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, they're not.
I thought you were saying they were.
No way. No, the factory would never have put the point so close to that line. They would always be like centered in that front quarter. They would never be like that. So remember when we looked at the livery on that Cayenne?
Yeah.
Yeah. This drives me nuts the same way. My OCD is off. Those will come right off their stickers.
Were those stamped as well? Those fenders, like the 355?
The real ones would have been, yeah.
They would have been stamped. Yeah, exactly. So.
And they did actually offer them though in that era.
I don't know. I don't know about the 348.
Okay.
At the time, they were building F40s, and the F40 was the car that had the shields built in.
Yeah, I don't.
And then it was such a popular thing that the F40, I think they started offering them on later cars. Originally, the shields were only on racing cars. That was when the old man was alive. You could only get a Scuderia shield on a car that was in competition. They started offering that as an option and selling them for $5,000, and everybody puts them on their car.
Clear. An actual clear space logo violation right there. If you're into branding and if you're into logo compliance and branding compliance,
it's just so sad.
That's a problem. Yeah,
it's so sad because it's pretentious and then done poorly. It's like if you're gonna be pretentious, at least do it right. Go get an enamel one and have somebody put an adhesive back on it, and then put it where it's supposed to go and make it look real. But like to throw a sticker on there, it's like, hey,
Warren's about to tell us that the millennials are all into making sure they're violating clear space rules with logos, and that's a thing for 22-year-olds. Warren, what do you think this car is going to be worth?
Consigner's 21. Yeah, exactly.
21, right? Man, that's tough. The service is a huge thing, but then it's also on BAT. It's like you have two conflicting interests here. I'm going to go a little under. I'm going to say 61.
All right.
Yeah.
So another 10 grand for Warren. Where you at, JP?
Yeah, I mean, if it were on Ferrari chat, this car would be $30,000 because they were really like, the service, the engine, the thing, and the stuff,
the
and the
stereo,
paperwork.
and the shields. And
and I don't know if you guys noticed that on that one picture with the where the heck did it go of the pedals. There's a close up of the pedals. Sorry, I should have had this teed up.
Are there some wires hanging down?
Right by the accelerator. Look at this. If your foot goes the wrong way, you're gonna pop those XLR. Here's the accelerator. Here's the back of the
look at the stereo hanging out.
Yeah,
are you guys
sure
it's not drive-by-wire throttle? I mean,
that is a good point.
Exactly.
I didn't think of that. Maybe that's just an old Ferrari module. Not on Ferrari chat. This is on BAT, and everyone wants a gated shifter Ferrari. I'm going to say 70 grand. I don't because I just don't think anybody service is like, who cares, man? Whatever.
It's the right colors, the right
34,000 miles, right?
And it's a hard top.
Yeah.
It's not a Targa top. It's not a Spider. It's an actual hard, slick top. I think it's gonna bring.
They do bring the most money.
Yeah. And 355s have been moving up big time.
Oh my god, they're out of control.
360s are undervalued.
Yeah,
360s are undervalued.
Definitely.
All right, Deeb, let's get off of this F car here and maybe talk about some other cars. Maybe something. Yeah, let's go to Pecan Market. Let's go see our boys in Long Island. All right, what do we got here?
All right, so literally offered out of Oyster Bay, New York. Let the conspiracies begin. A 2002 996 C4S with a 6-speed. This car has just 29,000 miles. The IMS bearing was done in preparation for the sale on P-Car Market. So they took it to the shop and did an IMS bearing, a new clutch, they resurfaced the flywheel, and they changed out the rear main seal. So all of that stuff is done with a LN Engineering IMS bearing. That's basically the one everybody wants. Our car has under 30,000 miles, and it's the venerable Germanic Arctic silver with black interior. I mean, JP, this is the car of the moment, and the bearing is done. What do we think here? I mean, look at this thing. It's the one everybody wants. It's really nice. I agree with you, JP, wholeheartedly, and I think Buddha does too. The 996 S wide body has the best looking rear end of any Porsche ever made. Arguably one of the best rear ends of all time. I would say that the Testarossa from 1990 also has a very bodacious booty, but this car is really sexy from the rear. If you are lucky enough to follow and keep up with one, that you could do a lot worse on your favorite rally or whatever. But look at this car. I mean, this is it. This is the one. So what do you think, Warren?
Man, I am so all over the place with this market. It's so hard to say. 29,000 miles. That is very low. New York, I don't see any underside pictures yet, but I'm assuming it's rust-free and probably just driven in the summer.
Thank you for catching that right away, Warren. I put that in my notes. Thank you for bringing it up. Go ahead. We'll get back to it.
Yeah. So I really don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say like.
No, we're not ready for a number. We're not ready for a number.
I'm not ready to
But what do you think of the car? What do you think of the car? What do you think of the values that we know 996s are moving? Yeah,
I love them. Yeah, I think they're great. And you hit on it. The wide body's great, but also the C4S is unique, right? and it does add something to that rear end. It kind of completes it a little bit with those vents and that big reflector in the back and stuff. I think it just kind of ties the room together, so to speak. So I'm all for it. Personally, I don't really lust after an all-wheel drive car, but I see where the value is at, especially when you're on the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah, it really is a shame that they didn't make a wide-body 996 two-wheel drive car other than the GT2, which really doesn't count. This car, and I think in 996 compared to the 996 Turbo, the 4S is the way better-looking car. It's debatable, but a lot, I just think that hole in the side fender to let air in just looks terrible. I think it ruins the lines. But having it nice and smooth and no big stupid wing on the back. A lot of people have C4Ss and they have wings on them, and I think that just completely ruins the look. The C4S is a true minimalist design with a little bit of extra drama, like you mentioned, Warren, with the gills on the back fender and those big huge scoops on the front that the Turbo has, but without all the extra stupid stuff that just says "Boy Racer" or "Look at me" or "I'm compensating for something." I mean, that is just a pure pure 911 all the way. Big hips. I would like to see this car ROW height. This thing is definitely American height, so it's got 4x4 status all the way. Having owned 5 of these, I will tell you they are just wonderful drivers. The 996 ergonomics are superior to 997 ergonomics, even though the aesthetics of the interior leave something to be desired. At least this one in black kind of covers up a lot of the things that maybe were a little too 90s left over. Yeah, these are just such a great place to be, especially in this trim level too, because all the 4Ss had full leather interior. So the dashboard and the door cards and everything all has stitching. And so every touch point is just a really nice place to be. I would love this to not have the ugly, horrible, supple leather interior. But, if it had sports seats, this would be
horrible.
Top. Yeah, the supple leather is pretty bad. Who was it was it you or was it Lane that said ball sack leather or something leather? Yeah, testicle leather.
Lane.
Probably Lane. It's like, he got it right. It's so bad. And then change those darn orange reflectors, get the white ones, and lower this car just a little bit. Hey, it's also possible, and I wouldn't recommend doing it on a low mileage one because it's probably going to ruin the value, but pull the front diff out and you've got yourself a rear-wheel drive wide-body 996. It's not that difficult to do. You lose about 300 pounds, and it drives so much better. And you won't throw a coat, oddly enough. So it's... if you're going to keep it for a long time, make it right.
So, JP, a couple things I want to bring up. First of all, our car made some money overnight. It was at $34,996 last night. It's sitting at $41,000 right now with 2.5 hours to go out of Oyster Bay, New York. This is right in P Car Market's backyard. That's the same town that their headquarters are at.
It's got the sticker. He's got the license plate frame and everything.
Yeah. The thing that gets me, though, is like this guy went out of his way to spend all this money, right, with that IMS and the clutch and the rear seal. I mean, that's like $6,000 in receipts probably, But there's no paint meters. There's no Carfax or auto check. And like Warren said, there's no underbody photos. So there were underbody photos. We screwed them. Okay,
yeah,
it looks all right. But were there paint meter photos?
No, I didn't see any paint meter stuff.
Yeah, neither did I. So, anyways, that kind of stuff. Like, how do you leave out that sort of attention to detail if you're going to go to such great lengths? Make sure it doesn't look like you're hiding something, and that's the only thing that bothers me about that. That being said, I still think this car is going to do really well. It's already at a high number, 41,000. If it's sold right here, that'd be a good deal. But if it makes another 10 grand, then that's right on the money where these cars are bringing. These cars are bringing $50,000 now, JP, maybe more. And this one is poised to bring more sitting in Oyster Bay where cars do well on P-Car Market. So last night I said $47,000, JP, but I think this car's got another 10 grand in it. I'm going to change my bid to 51 grand and send it over to Warren. Wow. Where are you at, buddy?
$54,000, Bob.
All right.
Boom, look at that.
Nice.
Going up.
Look at that.
Going up.
Yeah. I think we have switched into Bizarro land, and the world has changed. And not unlike the paradigm shift that we saw when the 964 became more valuable than the 993, I think we are now in a world where the 996 in certain setups are more valuable
Is
than
encroaching on
the
997s.
Yeah, I think this. My bid is 55. I think it could go higher. If it were on now, so this is one of those situations where, all right, this car on BAT versus P car market. This is Deeb, you hit it. When a car is in P car market's backyard, that is their most consistent. When they have the car there for some reason, I don't know if it's because their buyers come down and can put their hands on it and drive it or whatever, but they always bring the big money. I think it's entirely possible that we see a $60,000 C4S happen today.
I agree.
Not
and it's crazy
me
to me that the car that could do it doesn't have the short shifter or the sport exhaust or the sport adaptive sport seats. That it's missing some of those cool things that would make this car even nicer.
Or ceramics too, right?
Ceramics.
I don't think they didn't have ceramics on 4Ss.
They were. I had a car in my shop that he had.
Really?
Yeah, it was a press car, but his had ceramics.
Ceramics on a C4S.
C4S.
Oh my God, that's a unicorn right there.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy. I thought
he sold it for a G body.
When they were an option on the 996 GT3, I thought that was the first time Porsche brought them to market.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just a one-off thing, but his car absolutely had them, and
his car had to be an 04, not an 03.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
at least that. At least
maybe
that. Yeah, I'll pretend like I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, neat car, under 30,000 miles. All the service is done, and it's silver and back. Resell silver on a Porsche. Go look. We'll see what happens. That'll be fun to watch. Warren, watch the show tomorrow.
I definitely will. Yeah,
it'll be really fun. Okay, I picked one car and ultimately two cars that probably fit Radwood, the whole spirit of occasion. But the first one, JP, can we go to this 1985 Toyota Tercel that is on Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bid site? Here's the thing, guys, because I was a kid at this era, and JP, I'm sure you'll agree with me. When you see a car from this era that still has fresh graphics, it just brings you back. I mean, I look at this car, and it just reminds me of everything 80s. Did we actually lose JP again? I feel like he's not on the air. But anyway, this car has great graphics. It's a 1985 Toyota Tercel SR5 four-wheel drive wagon with the three different blues, and even the interior. Warren, I don't know if you're familiar with these cars. Does that look like it's the original interior for that car with the sort of what do you call that? That
plaid kind of
looking, the checks.
Yeah,
really neat. The car is offered out of Camas, Washington, which I'm sure is not terribly far from where our missing host, who's been beamed up by a UFO, grew up. This car has $142,600 on the odometer. 146,000 miles on the odometer. It has had a motor change to a later Tercel, so we're looking at a little bit bigger 1.5 liter inline four. This is still an all-wheel drive, and multiple occasions they mentioned that this car has a 6-speed, but the shifter, and nowhere in it does it mention that it has a shift change. I can't wrap my brain around that there was a 6-speed manual on a Toyota in 1985. I don't think those came out until the 90s. So I think it's a misprint, and that they just misprinted it several times, and it's a 5-speed.
No, it's got a granny gear, I think. It's like a first gear that you can only go like 5 miles an hour on.
It's on there then. It's on there because there's a reverse and there's a red dot next to the one. So right.
That's it. It's like you never use it unless you're trying to crawl out of something. So
there you go. So it's on there. Okay, so it does have 6 forward gears, including it's a 5-speed with a sub granny. Thank you, Warren, for clearing that up because I was really confused by that. Otherwise, it's all there. There's some little resto mods, but it's all Toyota speak, right? So it's an updated Tercel motor. It's got MR2 wheels on it. They put the little basket on there. But the seats and the graphics, I think, are what's going to drive this car. And on Doug DeMuro's site with 142,000 miles out of Camas, Washington, we're looking at $4,000, and it's going to close at another $1,000 or $1,500.
Yeah.
And the whole reason I brought this up, not knowing you'd be on the show, was that JP, how are these people not bringing these cars to Rad For Sale? I think this is a $8,000 to $10,000 car on Rad For Sale all day long, and that these consigners need to be educated, and it's our job to do that. So, Warren,
thank you.
What do I leave out here? Tell me, am I right in thinking that this is a 5-figure car on Rad For Sale? Could this car possibly get there, even though it's not a sports car?
Gosh. Well, this particular example, I'm going to say it would be a struggle to get there. It's got quite a long list of flaws, including that the engine sputters and diesels when you try to shut it off. It's got some oil leaks everywhere. The graphics aren't original. It's got some question marks. However, try finding another one. My friend had one of these when I was in high school, and we did a few ski trips in it and stuff. And it's a rad car. I almost bought one as a second car when I was very young, but and I should have. But it was that brown on brown,
right?
You know, with the brown plaid. And you always got to look for the inclinometer, which this car has. So that's a selling point for sure.
Yeah. So what about? Look at this platform. It's a 5-door with a granny gear. I mean, is this not the predecessor to the what are the cars, the crossovers of today's market?
Totally.
Selling like crazy. I mean, this car is way ahead of its time.
I wish they still sold something like this. Like if they made the Corolla wagon with all-wheel drive and a manual, I mean, that's a rad little car, you know. And they don't.
Subaru Outback is kind of the closest thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Crosstrek maybe or something. But this still had a lot of the quirkiness to it. So the interiors were quirky. That granny gear is weird. The inclinometer, like we said. So yeah, I love these little cars.
Yeah, these cars were driven by hippies and beatniks and civil servants, right? Like people.
Yeah, they worked for the lumber industry, and they lived in Vermont.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was also the alternative to a pickup truck, right? You could make a case for that.
Yeah, I mean, this thing has stuff that most 4x4s don't have. I mean, it looks like it's got some kind of air ride system where it actually goes, like you can get more ground clearance. It is aftermarket, like a gasometer or whatever. But, you know, all those gauges on the dash, like you said, the inclinometer, and then the horizontal, you know, is it going to tip over type of thing? What did you see those on, like some Rovers, and the Dodge Raider had those? And
I had two Dodge Raiders. I had two Dodge Raiders. I bought one, and then I don't know what happened to it. And then I wound up getting another one because it was just such a great city car because you could see over traffic, and yet you could still park it in a regular parking space. And mine were both sticks, and you could take them to Tahoe. That was the big thing, was to go skiing on the weekend when I was 20. And
that's what this thing does. Good mileage. Yeah. You fit all your friends, throw the skis on top, and you're good. Yeah,
you're good. Yeah. So
fold those seats down the back. A short guy like me could sleep back there.
With the graphics and the interior, all I kept thinking is this car would bring basically twice as much money on Rad For Sale. This is a no reserve auction. It's at $4,200. It's got 3 hours to go. 14 bids, so there is some action on it. I'm bummed to find out that those aren't Toyota graphics, that those are just Grand Auto graphics. I had hoped they were original, but they obviously look too good to be original.
Yeah.
I said I'm not sure I feel good about this bid. I'm going to go $5,000. That's my bid. Where are you at, Warren?
I'm just slightly over you, $5,500. Yeah, I don't think it's going to crack 6.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take 6. The paint has failed. A lot of issues, like you pointed out, Warren, oil leaks, and all kinds of issues and stuff like that.
AC's non-op, like it's got dents. It's if it was all original and low mileage, sure, you could forgive some of that stuff, but it's like it still needs another restoration, or like the next guy's going to have to do all that stuff as well, and it's still going to be a $6,000 car. So.
Well, imagine if this were, well, that's the question, right? Imagine if it were original and it had, and the engine was running really well.
12, 15 grand.
Right, I think something like this has, if somebody has one of these laying around in a garage somewhere, now's the time to break it out and clean it up and get it on Rad For Sale. Yeah,
grandma's car at the cabin or something. That's what you're looking for.
Kind of like a certain 1992 Wrangler with only 38,000 miles that I know of. So.
Get it going.
On Rad For Sale
on its way
soon.
on its way to an auction site near you.
Put a tennis ball on the thing and ship it.
Hell yeah. Everybody wants a tennis ball.
Send it.
Okay, great pick. What else we got?
Okay, JP, another Toyota, ironically, and then I want Warren to tell us if this would be allowed in. It's a 2000 Toyota Celica GTS. Was this a car that's a continuation, or would it not fail? Would it fail?
So did they make them in 99?
I don't know.
I think it's a 2000.
Let's assume that they did. Let's say there was a 99 Celica GTS. Would this be continued in then?
Yeah, technically it would be. I mean, if this was a show and he wanted to enter it as a royalty car, we would not allow it. Unless it was like raced in period, full, motorsport, TRD, something like that, maybe. Long Beach Grand Prix car or something like that.
Yeah, the pace car for the Grand Prix. That'd be
exactly. We could maybe figure something out there, but no, it's a definitely a 2000 and on design. At least that's what they were going for. And yeah, it doesn't check many rad boxes.
All right. Well, this car is pretty neat in that it's still basically all stock. So it's a 2000 Toyota Celica GTS with the 2CZ GE engine. This is the same motor that basically Lotus bought to put in the what do you call that thing? Elise when they first brought them to the U.S. So it's a normally aspirated 1.8 liter inline four. Our car out of Lee Summit, Missouri, has just 79,000 original miles, and our car is run through a 6-speed manual. JP, ask me what color this car is.
Hey, Deeb, what color is this car?
It's absolutely red. Yeah. Which I love. I don't know why that just gets me going.
That's the official name?
That's the official name.
Absolutely red. Yeah, which I think is great. We don't cover that enough because I'm always trying to run through the cars and not slow the show down. Yeah. But man, the names of some of the colors, that, especially the off-brand stuff that JP and I aren't familiar with, is just awesome. So absolutely red is a fantastic name for that color. But I just like that this car is stock and it's under 100,000 miles and it's a stick. And it's a GTS with a pretty decent motor because Lotus could have bought anything for their car, and they bought this. So you know it's going to be reliable. No reserve auction at a Lee Summit, Missouri. Warren, I'm sorry that this car is not rad eligible, but do you have a soft spot in these era of Japanese cars that are starting to emerge as collectible?
Yeah. Yep, the era for sure. I think if I was going to choose this or an Acura RSX, I would go RSX just aesthetically. I think they're a tighter design, a little cleaner. These haven't done much for me, and they're pretty hard to find now. I mean, they've all been kind of modified and beat and used hard, and I don't think you're seeing many of these kind of come out. So this is about the nicest one I've seen. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, well, I agreed. I picked this car first and then the Tercel later because it was so rad.
Yeah.
JP, what do you think, man? These cars are starting to bring some money. Not big money, but they've come up off the stops. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you guys talked about the fact that they were, this was a cheap sports car for young people, and so most of them are all used up. To find something like this so fresh, compared to an RSX, the RSX is definitely the better looking car, but when it comes right down to it, it's if you're in the market for a front wheel drive Japanese, era car, something a little older but not quite Radwood, but you can't afford something brand new, this would be a fantastic car to get into because it is going to last forever. Isn't this the early Scion? Didn't these basically become what Scion kind of became at some point?
TC,
yeah. I mean, it was like
Scions were way more stripped down compared to
the Scion. The Scion didn't drive like this. The Scion didn't have 180 horsepower, did it?
Yeah, the TC. I don't know if they put a GTS motor in there, but the interior-wise, they were so much more stripped down. I mean, this is a much more grown-up car. If you can believe it.
Yeah. I mean, great car, but if I'm looking for something in this era, I'm looking for an MR2, rear-wheel drive, and is
there you go.
Goofy looking as an MR2 is. I just,
I would go Type S RSX and a heartbeat, just aesthetics-wise, styling. It's a better design.
This is a hard car to look at.
Yeah, at a Lee Summit, Missouri, with less than 80,000 miles, bone stock and 6-speed manual, Toyota Celica GTS, no reserve, sitting at $6,700 on 17 bids with 2 hours left to go. Again, $6,000 would have been like remarkable money not that long ago. But in today's market, being stock, I think this car's got a chance. I still don't think this car, for all the reasons you guys said, there's better Honda products out there that are more valuable. There are better driving Toyotas that are rear-wheel drive. For those reasons that you guys both made, I don't think it's going to break 10. I'm going to say $9,000 and hand it to you, Warren. Where are you at?
I do think it breaks 10. I think it's
not on Rad. It's not on Rad For Sale, so I don't know. It's Doug DeMiro. You're wagering not on the car, but on Doug DeMiro.
I think what hurts it too, it's in Missouri, which is tough one too, because then everyone's looking at shipping as well, right? So
or driving home.
Yeah, I'm going to say 11.5.
Oh wow, nice!
I think it could make 12. I think that's about the nicest one I've seen. I mean, and it has the window sticker. I mean, it's like kind of a unicorn if you're into these,
Which is why I picked.
And also 12,000 is not that much money. What we're talking about, all these crazy cars these days. It's like nuts.
Deeb, what was your number?
I said 9, and Warren said 11.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 99. I think if it were on BAT, I'd say it's a $15,000 car, but I think Cars and Bids is just weak sauce.
That's a good take because I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. I just don't know if anyone watching Cars and Bids has $10,000 in their pocket ready to go.
I think a retail setting though, that car is they're asking 14.9.
And you can't finance a car that's older than 10 years old. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, exactly.
All right, you're right, JP. Listen, that might be what's holding the values back is the financing of the getting the money to the seller. I mean, like it's a great take.
It's a real problem.
All right. Last car, which is also rad. This is a 1990 Chevrolet K5 Blazer Silverado 4x4 out of Frackville, Pennsylvania.
Whoa,
Frackville? Is that like a new town that they just created?
Frackville, Pennsylvania. I'm not making this stuff up, I promise you. It does have the fuel-injected 5.7-liter V8. It is a 4-speed automatic, and of course, these things are 4x4. Our car has 26,000 original miles.
Whoa.
Take a look at that. Feast your eyes on the only unused K5 Blazer on the planet, I'm sure. Look at this thing. Would this be eligible for Redwood royalty?
Oh my God!
Look
Absolutely.
at that. That is a hillbilly hoedown right there on wheels. Gray cloth, two-tone, black and gray. It's got sliding rear windows. I mean, this thing is just so period correct. It's unbelievable. It probably weighs 3 tons, but it will probably go anywhere. JP, you know these cars better than I do, but I have been amazed by values of these since we've started doing the show together, and I've been learning about the older Broncos and the Blazers. But this one seems really neat. It's a shame it's not a stick because I think this one would break the bank if it was a manual. And if that rear cover thing, JP, comes off, then is it, shame on him for not taking photos of it with it off because it just seems kind of a bummer.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, it really is on
it's pain in the ass. So anyway, but really cool. I thought this was just really interesting, JP, because when are we going to see another one that's got under 30,000 miles and it's still held up really well? So Warren, tell me, would this be the perfect car for Santa Cruz if it didn't have the top on it?
Absolutely. Actually, there's one cruising around town here, and I'm in Santa Cruz Beach Town, and they have the roof off just permanently. And it is a rad option.
Really cool. Yeah. I think that'd be really neat with a surfboard hanging out of the back.
Totally. Yeah, and Broncos have been crazy lately. I think these are definitely starting to be appreciated. 29,000 miles, all brochures and all the accessories. It's got hella lights or KC lights up front, and those little fender skirts and stuff. It's a nice truck.
Some of these close-ups are, some of the close-ups around the windshield and stuff are showing
I was looking at that.
evidence of what looks like repaint, and I don't know if the whole thing's been repainted
I was going
or just
to ask
the front
that.
end. Yeah.
I was going to ask that.
Deeb, did you get? I don't know how deep you got into the ad here. If there's any mention of that kind of stuff, because that's about the only thing that's.
The truck was refinished in black and silver.
Yeah.
Refinished. So that is a repaint.
Yeah, and looking at these, and to the seller's credit, they're full disclosure, they're showing close-ups of overspray kind of cracking around the seals, and that is a bummer. But I think kind of like that Tercel that we talked about just a minute ago. I mean, that Tercel, even though the paint clear coat was totally failing on that car, it still was a good looking 10-footer.
Right?
Yeah. So if this car had the original paint, all faded. Yeah, with the low miles would be fine.
It would be more valuable.
And take that top off, and I think you'd be in great shape. We'd be looking at $40,000. But with less than 2 hours, you guys, our car's sitting at just $23,000. And I'm sure that's because of the repaint and the automatic transmission. I think the guy that would spend money on this would want to stick. And I'm just saying, for you guys, I would take the top off for sure. I wouldn't even bother with that.
I'd probably ditch those running boards and the
Right.
Yeah, I guess the chrome accents around the fenders. I mean, it just kind of makes it look more low and not as utilitarian. So that's just a personal preference.
Isn't that kind of the trim level, though? Isn't that the way it came? I mean, I don't
know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very period correct. Yeah, it might have been dealer option, or a factory dealer option. I'm pretty sure that that was like the full trim level, and that's probably why they did the silver and black thing. I think it's correct, but I do think you're right, Warren, that it would look better without all that stuff. Top two, I don't recall ever seeing a split window sliding side window.
Right.
I was going to say too,
hardtop.
and it's tinted really dark, which I don't love either. So I mean, it's obviously not a perfect factory truck, right? It's been tinkered with.
But we have seen some crazy values on these, Deeb. What do you think,
We-
man?
Absolutely, and I felt like this one could have had a chance, but now we do a deeper dive on it, and it's just it's like close but not there. I just don't think it's going to go crazy. I thought last night this car might bring 40 grand.
Wait, Deeb, before you bid, the seller is Truck Stop Love Child. Does that change anything?
Yes, it does. It changes everything. $100,000.
$100,000. Oh man.
Truck Stop Love Child. That's the other thing, Warren, and I'm so glad you caught it. I think you might be our best third nerd. We talk about handles every once in a while. Oftentimes we miss them, but Truck Stop Love Child
That's heavy.
has to go in the record books.
That is heavy.
As honorable mention. Let's
Hold
just send
on.
him some bid nerd stickers.
He does need a tennis ball. When you show up to buy this car, are you going to go into a kitchen and, some little girl's going to offer you cookies and Chris Hansen's going to come out?
By the way, it's Frackville. Let's not forget Frackville.
This is every high school football coach car in middle America right here.
Exactly.
I mean, this definitely, okay. This could definitely be a bad guy in a Tarantino movie. All right, Deeb, what's your number, buddy? Into the microphone.
35,000.
35,000. What do you think, Warren?
That's 23.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to say 28.
Oh, the under.
I don't think it is a collector grade.
We have seen these go in the 60s.
I
for
know
really
it, but
nice
I
ones.
The
This
repaint,
isn't one of those.
yeah, the repaint and location.
But it does
But
have
BAT
low
also.
miles. Yeah, it's low
It does
miles.
have low
It's on
miles.
BAT. What was your number, Deep?
35.
35. Yeah, I'm going over. I'm going 39. I think this thing could break 40. Yeah, I
right,
mean,
we-
whatever.
we've been
It's a
all over the
repaint. And
board
it's
on
got
this
all
one.
the things, but
Yeah.
it's a K5 Blazer,
Really
man, with low
interesting.
miles.
That might be one of the most sprayed out.
I know. I could be way off, but we had one on Rad For Sale that was very nice. It's original paint, higher mileage, but
I remember that
I'd
one.
argue a better truck, and it failed to sell at 15. It was right
Jeez.
there, like almost hit reserve, but it just didn't make it. And I think I would rather have that truck. The only problem was it was a diesel, so that was
Detroit diesel.
yeah. And some people love that. I don't know, what your use case is for that stuff. Maybe better mileage slightly, but are you even worried about mileage with a truck like this? Like,
God, if you're pulling a
You're not
boat or
buying
something
it.
like that, you want the diesel. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah.
I guess so.
This thing you could take the top off, you could the running boards off, and then could you, is it cost effective to do a gearbox swap? Put a 4-speed in there and drive that. Would that be? And then would you?
Such
that's
low
not-
mileage, though. Yeah, I mean, it's already been painted, so you already broke the seal, right? So
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Not at 35 or 40 grand. I don't think you spend that money on it like that. That doesn't make any sense. You'd have to just leave it alone. Anyway.
Wow, guys, what an amazing group of cars and fellas talking about them. Good job, guys. Let's wrap it up. Warren from Rad For Sale and Radwood and DWA and anything else you want to plug?
nothing. Just come to Radwood, July 10th in the San Francisco Bay Area. Bid Nerds will be there, of course. And then if you are considering selling a car, hit us up at auctions@radforsale.com.
And
We'd love to
JP
see it.
is.
And I will
right.
be. I am putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to sell my Wrangler on Rad For Sale. We're going to go take pictures of that thing today
I love
so that
it.
we can get it up. Get it up
Oh, in
by
the
the end of the
heat.
week.
In the
In the heat,
JP
yeah.
says
Yeah.
JP says he's going to put his money where his mouth is. He's actually going to put his car where his third nerd is.
I love it. I will say a quick shout out to Rad For Sale. Right now, the site is the perfect mix of cars because we have a really cool GTI, 83 GTI for sale,
M3 lightweight.
an M3 lightweight, and a great driving
turbo.
944 turbo, as
Yeah.
well as a 93 Dodge Caravan SE. So I just want to show you
wow.
what's possible
and
on the
an
site.
original RAV4 with a manual transmission.
That
also,
one's closing
which is
soon,
like-
which I love that car. Yeah, I want it.
We're going to cover it on Friday, I think. It
Oh,
covers
good.
it.
If I had the room for it, I would buy that thing. That's such a rad city option too for you, Deeb. Cruising around the city.
Let me ask you guys, since you brought it up, I didn't want to pick on you too much because we were really picking at you on the license plate on the Miata. How do you guys go like where you have no auctions on some days and then all of a sudden you have 3 cars closing on the same day? What's the strategy there? Because clearly that's on purpose.
Yes. So to be honest, our greatest asset right now as a new site is we can get cars up immediately. So we're going as fast as we can to get cars up, and that's usually what the sellers want. Okay. So as far as closing on the same day, we space them out, but it kind of makes for a fun day. I mean, for bid nerds, you guys want cars closing on the same day so you can talk about them. So we do it for you, Deeb. We do it for you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'd like to invite myself onto your podcast. I've been casually
you need to come on
once or twice. Yeah, I've been casually invited once or twice. So this is me formally telling you between now and July 10th, when you guys are having Radwood in San Mateo County, where it all began back in the Bay Area, I would like to come on before then.
I'm writing it down right now. I'm writing Boomer Deeb on podcast.
Hold it!
Brutal. It wasn't me. I didn't. What do you mean, Polnik?
It was
those guys down there.
He said it. He said it.
You said it on the internet. You can't, it's like herpes. It never goes away.
Exactly.
Have some ointment around or something.
They sell a cream for that boomer, dude.
Boomer cream. Boomer away.
Boomer cream. Yeah.
Exactly.
Warren, I'm your Huckleberry, man, and I can either drive down and join you guys or jump in.
Oh, that'd be rad.
Internet, yeah, it'd be fun to be in studio and see the behind the curtain.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do that.
All right, man.
All right, fellas. Everybody out there watching, thank you so much for being a bid nerd. Hit the subscribe, like, and notification button so you know when the freshest nerds are available. And we're here every day of the week, Monday through Friday at the 9 o'clock hour Pacific time. We have more guests coming this week. We got Matt from Avant Garde up in Portland is going to join us tomorrow.
No way!
Awesome. And then I don't know if tomorrow's Wednesday. Is that right? Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday, so he's joining us tomorrow. I'm going to be on the Everyone Racers podcast tomorrow night.
Very
so
cool.
I'll be joining Mental and the rest of his crew over there. We're going to check that out. I think that's about 5
Jeff,
o'clock.
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah. So check them out on the YouTubes. We have Chris Kluhl from Overcrest coming on Thursday. So we've got Third Nerd on Thursday. And look for David, founder of P-Car Market, joining us maybe Friday or sometime next week, as well as other guests getting lined up. Lots of Third Nerds joining us. Warren, thank you for joining us again. We always love having you.
Thank you, guys.
You're the man. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. I'll be seeing my victories tomorrow.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Chime in. You know, if you want, text me during the show. As we're talking about it, and we can have you contribute from afar. All right,
remotely. Sounds
Fourth
good, guys.
nerd.
Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds weird. All right, see
Fourth
you.
Nerd. All right, later. See you guys.
Get those words!